trying to fucking get to him.
Stop the... Guys, you could just leave the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Because... Just leave the theater. And never return.
I could say something, I'm just not gonna. We're just gonna let that fucking sit there, because there's so much I could say. Yeah. Alright. I'm being a good boy. Because of this, projectionist theater owners, distributors, and community censor boards would take it upon themselves to edit the film.
Wow.
So when they returned it to the offices after the showings, because you rent the film...
It came back ruined.
It came back ruined, yeah. And it would be shorter, and a lot of things edited out. Hallmark had a full-time editing studio set up to fix these prints.
Can't you just hey, you broke it, you bought it?
No. Because they only rent them, right? They don't make multiple copies. They make the multiple copies and then they rent them out to people. They don't have more. They didn't, for some reason, I guess because it was such a shitty little company, they didn't keep a master. They just sent everything out.
No, but I'm saying, charge those theaters extra going, hey, you fucked our film.
Sure they did.
So you're paying for us to re-edit this.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure that all the companies that did all this shit were paying for this full-time studio. But they would basically, they would print, they would set up to fix the prints. They would attempt to salvage the movie because the editors would make the cuts. We're not good at it. And they would hack them to shit.
And then how bad do you think the people watching these movies for the first time would want to get their hands on the actual film?
Well, that was the thing. It was hard to tell because
they didn't know
at the time they didn't know there was anyone who was going to give a shit. You know what I mean? So they were thinking that most of these people were probably just like, oh, it's too fucking gory, so let's just leave it as it is. Which is part of the rest of what I'm about to say involving the editing, because the initial cut of the film had a runtime of 91 minutes. The current most uncensored version, the one that we watched, is just under 85. So there is, in fact, roughly 6 to 7 minutes of footage that we will never see.
The version I watched was an hour and a half.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch it where I told you to?
Mm-hmm.
It was 1 hour and 25 minutes.
Okay, well that's...
Which is 85 minutes.
I guess credits or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Because I watched it on the same one too.
Yeah,
because
okay.
I didn't bother pulling out my DVD. But yeah, that was 1 hour 24 and something seconds.
Anthem change. Okay.
Yeah, the original runtime is 91 minutes. Hallmark, who owned the movie, showed it uncut in its initial run. No matter who came for them, saying, "We don't care. It's not like we're going for an Oscar here."
Although, Jesus,
mm-hmm.
would that be nuts? That'd be nuts if they submitted it.
Yeah, I mean, for your approval.
Here you go. Cut to the offices of the Motion Picture Art and Science.
Yeah, pretty much. So, various VHS releases all had different cuts of the film, with different scenes added or removed. Not going to list them all. It's out there. You can find it. Throw it in your Google machine.
Go nuts.
Go find them. There's a ton of differences. There's I think 4 or 5 different VHS versions that all have explicit lists of here's what's in the movie, here's what's edited. They're all different. So some footage is footage that we've not seen. Some footage is film of scenes a lot of some of the gorier stuff's taken out. Not any of them really have gore put in, but it's mostly just story beats that don't exist. But here's what I will say of some of them. Here's 4 things that I can point out. So a scene in which Sadie rapes Mary and Phyllis. I keep wanting to call her Mari. It was such weird spelling.
It's M-A-R-I. So.
M-A-R-I. So it's Mari, technically, from everything I've ever heard. But it's Mary. And Phyllis, which is only hinted in the current cut. It starts with Kruger, Jesus. Krug saying, "All right, Sadie, she's all yours, but hurry up, Weasel and I are hungry." So Sadie apparently got in on the act, but we don't see that. It's just sort of implied that she was interested. More gore shots of Phyllis being disemboweled, as well as several as the actual severing of her arm. Apparently there was footage of that. The scene in which the killers... This is actually very interesting. I'm sure you probably noticed it. The scene where the killers are washing up in the lake initially had a camera move that showed Mary still alive hanging on a tree.
Yeah.
Which is why on the riverbank, when her parents find her and she's moving, it's because she's actually alive. Because that was the original intent, was to have her alive when they found her. If you remember that scene where,
yeah, but they say she's dead.
I'll get to that. I'll get there. She dies eventually.
Okay.
Right? I'm literally about to read you the scene. This is why I'm saying I'll get to you.
Mm.
So the scene where they find her, They have a brief conversation with her, asking who did this to you, for which she replies 3 or 4 people, 2 guys and an awful lady, and a guy my age. The parents look at each other, and the mother says, "It's them, I told you." Her father says, "The people in the house." Mary says, "Murderers." They ask where Phyllis is, and she replies, "She's dead." Then Mary dies. At which point, the mother asks, like, "Is there anything we can do?" And, John says, "No, I'm afraid she's gone." And then they freak out, and then that's when they go back.
Okay.
So that's why when they pull her out, like, first of all, they don't pull her out of the river. I'm like, so
They
she just
find her.
washed up by herself? Like,
not
that
a
doesn't make
beach.
any sense. And then, yeah, exactly.
Not a
And
beach.
then
She can't wash up in a lake.
and then in the shot that we saw, like, they're literally, like, it looks almost like they're moving her, but she is moving.
Yeah,
She's flat out moving. So you're just like, okay, so they just had a bad shot. It's like, no, that she was originally supposed to die. Why that was cut, I don't know. I have no idea why that was cut out.
conversation doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't at all. But there are some VHS that do have her alive, but the conversation doesn't. Whole conversation doesn't happen. But she is alive when they find her, and then it's like, "Oh my God, Mary!" And then it's like, "What can we do for her?" "Oh, she's dead." So she doesn't actually have that conversation. The actual conversation where she talks to them doesn't exist anymore. So that was that. I don't know.
They just piece it together in the footage that we watched. Or the movie we watched.
The current DVD and Blu-ray release that, as Wes Craven states in the intro to the first DVD release, he says, "This is the most complete version of the film we could find."
So this is it.
This is it. We're never going to find any better. People are claiming that it must exist somewhere, and they're probably right. I mean, I got to assume a complete film of it must exist somewhere. But with all the places that they sent it to, there's no way to know. I'm hoping someday before I end my life ends, I get to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, in 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 20, 21, 22, 3 years from now, it's the 40th anniversary?
Yeah, but, I mean, again, if they haven't found it already, I don't think they're going to. I really don't think they will.
You don't think it's one of those things where they're
I would hope so.
We're waiting for an anniversary, and then
I'm hoping
boom,
so,
40 years of whatever.
I can tell you, they get my money. I've already bought this thing fucking twice on DVD. What makes you think I wouldn't buy another Blu-ray? I won't buy it on Blu-ray now because they never released it in North America, and it's fucking expensive as shit. Uncut footage of... This is kind of funny, because this does exist. This footage does exist, and it is on the DVD and the special features. Uncut footage of the disemboweling of Phyllis was edited into an obscure German exploitation film claiming to be a documentary called Confessions of a Blue Movie Star, The Evolution of Snuff, released in 1976. I assume somebody got sued somewhere. I debated...
Yeah, so we take the footage from the Wes Craven movie and we put it in our film. Yeah, that sounds good.
This is good. This is good. I was going to read something because I do have the book with me. I was going to read something, but I'm not going to bother. We're running a little long. But the film sparked protests from the public throughout the fall of 1972, who called for its removal from local theaters. Some theaters issued an open letter to these criticisms, and I was going to read one of those letters.
Hey.
But the letter...
This horrible movie's got to go. Hey.
Wow. But no, the letter, the gist of the letter is basically saying, like, does the movie go too far? Yes, but it's on purpose. It's to show that, like, this kind of violence is not cool, and the people doing it are bad. If you walk
Don't worry, they get what's coming to them.
Well, no, they don't want to say that because people haven't seen it, but they're just like, but look, trust me, if you don't like if you don't like the villains coming out of it, that's a good thing. That means that they did their job in showing you that violence is bad.
Yeah, you can't... Krug had a point.
Yeah.
You don't want to get that guy leaving the theater. Jesus. Because if you do, arrest him immediately.
Yeah. And that was all they were trying to say with these letters, is like, yeah, the movie should fucking exist because it's showing that violence is not a good thing. It's not making it cool that killing people is awesome. No, it's showing that killing people is really bad and sucks. That was all it's basically getting around to. Of course, they said it much more eloquently than I just did, but the gist is the same. When the movie was first released, most critics found the movie disturbing. However, Roger Ebert, of all people, who hates all of this shit, gave it 3.5 stars and described it as about 4 times as good as you'd expect it to be. He got letters from people asking him how he could possibly support a movie like this.
He wasn't as crotchety in 1972, I'm assuming.
No, he was.
Was he?
Yeah, he
Even back
was
then,
always
huh?
crotchety. Always fucking crotchety. His partner was worse. And he fucking hated this, thought it was the most vile thing that should never exist. So, but they were all, both of them, fucking Siskel and Ebert were both fucking crotchety douchebags about a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, I watch their show every fucking week, so what can I say? Most other reviewers called it disgusting, repellent, vulgar, and cheap. They're not wrong.
Yeah, it's
true. Those are apt
cheap.
descriptions.
It was,
yeah. And a lot of them walked out before the movie finished, which, then you shouldn't be allowed to review it. Some of the actors are proud of this movie, some are amazed that anyone ever saw it, and some are embarrassed by it. Fred J. Lincoln, also a porn star, known for films such as Teenage Nurses, Dominatrix Without Mercy, and Edward Penis Hands 3, has stated on numerous occasions that he considers this film to be the worst thing he ever did. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Edward...
Penis Hands.
Three,
Three, yes.
I mean, three of them.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But this is the worst thing you've been in.
Yes.
Okay.
And it should be said that in 2005, he directed and starred in a porn film called Last Whorehouse on the Left. So, you weren't against fucking ruining it. It was shit, but, I'll still use it to further my own shit. So back to this movie, of course. This movie has been banned several times in the UK by the BBFC, British Board of Film Classification. Originally in 1974, it was rejected for a cinema certificate. In 1984, it was banned again when it became what is called a video nasty. A term, which is a term to describe movies that can exploit a law in Britain that allows videos to be sold
what I'm watching every bad
without a passing cinema certificate.
Call that from a... Man, that was a real video nasty.
There are a lot of fucking video nasties out there. There's some dude on YouTube doing just a show called Video Nasties where he's just reviewing all of them.
Sweet.
Good for him, I say. It remained that way until 2000 when it was once more rejected for a cinema release. In 2001, it was rejected and remained banned. Finally, a video version in 2002 passed with around 30 seconds of cuts for an 18 rating, ending a 28-year streak of being banned. It was finally passed fully uncut by the BBFC in March of 2008.
What 30 seconds did they cut?
I don't know. But it's all in now, so it doesn't matter.
A little bit of the...
My guess is the intestines, or the rape scene. One of the two. I can't think of any other thing that would need to be cut, really.
Do we have to see her intestines?
Which is funny, because nowadays, that's so commonplace.
So, the rape is fine. The rape is fine. The intestines, though, can we just put those...
Just put them back in.
It's just a little bit of a bother.
Let's put it in there, gents. Jolly good show. Right.
Oh.
Like that, Junior.
Violence, sex.
Yeah. No, so actually, wait, yes.
Backwards, it's backwards over on this side of the world. It's violence, sex.
I never understood North America, never will. Upon its release, it was also banned in Norway, Malaysia, New Zealand. There was also a heavily...
Those are the three most random places you can...
Well...
Were people throwing a dart at a world map?
Most other people don't ban this shit,
Fair enough.
They don't bother. It was there was a heavily edited 64-minute version that was released in Germany. Now, if the Germans don't like it, you're fucked.
We must be honest, it's a little extreme.
He's
but the Germans are saying it's extreme.
Not so great for us.
I'm like, those guys invented snuff porn.
They did.
So when they're like, it's a bit much.
They're cool with porn where you're pooping on people, but this fake films, that's going too far. Wow. This film caused a controversy, I ain't gonna lie.
No, just not.
The film was seized by the Australian Customs Board in October of 1991 after a package after a package containing this film and several other banned titles was discovered. It was finally released in Australia uncut in November 2004. My question on top of this is, what in the flying fuck? Like, who's spending all of their time? Like, the movie is fucking 30 years old, 40 years old, but we still need to get out in fucking Australia. Who gives a shit by this point? Why does anyone care?
Well, alright, so we'll just make you put your movie out. It's 30 years too late, but Also, there's such thing as Ozploitation. There's a great documentary about Ozploitation movies.
Oh, yeah.
that I suggest.
This movie
Not Quite Hollywood is
this
a great...
movie is featured prominently, I believe.
Not Quite Hollywood's a great film. But what I'm getting at is Australia at this time had movies that were as bad, if not worse than this, out in their country.
But
they're like, well, it's all right if we make it, but
well, that's the thing.
if you Yanks make it,
it depends. It depends on